Hey, I know it's been a little while. Haven't made a video in probably a couple of weeks now, or at least made a video as in like recording me doing what I do, the talking. Sorry about that. I really do. Like, I feel better when I make videos in a rhythm, when I'm kind of doing it regularly. But just been a weird few weeks, I guess. Speaking of, I wanted to talk about the idea of mourning the self, because I think that when it comes to death, you know, um, mourning is a very important part of that process, especially when you're dealing with an entity or an idea, a figure, um, that you had a deep connection with. Um, and I think that's no different with you, because one of the things I don't think we talk enough about is like the versions of you. It's all you, but there are different versions of you. I think Doctor Who is a very good um, example of that. If you don't know anything about that series, it's this the titular character. He's an alien, and he's, for lack of a better, he's immortal. But he doesn't live forever in the way that you would typically live forever. Like, he lives for a while, and then once he either gets old and decrepit, or he sustains a significant amount of damage, he gets sick, he gets hurt, whatever. He regenerates into a new version of him. It's still him, different face, different quirks, eccentricities, so on and so forth. Um, but it's still him. But if you watch that show, I used to watch it. I was actually quite fond of it. It wasn't until recently they got really like weird with a lot of the stuff in it, and I was like, nah, I'm not gonna. But I used to be a big fan, and you know, whenever he would regenerate into a new version of him, there would always be this mourning process, and I think that's true to life in a lot of ways, because we're always us, but we're always different versions of us. And sometimes there are versions of us that no longer serve a purpose. Sometimes there are versions of us that are destructive, that are um they're counter they counter any progression, or any type of advancement. Some versions of us are just us that did not have knowledge or information, or you know what I'm saying? They were ignorant to an extent. There were things they didn't know. They saw the world in a completely different way. Suddenly, there's some revelatory moment that changes all that, and it's not always like the enlightenment that is doted upon, you know, in in metaphysical circles, or suddenly no, there's a lot of darkness to that too, because that old version of you that no longer suits you, but that person is still there, and you need to lay that person to rest That's one of the things, you know, because if you don't, that person's always going to be looking over your shoulder saying, what about me? What about me? And there's going to be the butting of heads, spiritually, philosophically, etc. But I think there needs to be a grieving process for that version of you. Um, for your own sake, you know? I think some of us incorporate, integrate those versions. I think integration is good, right? We integrate those versions and we are able to perceive. But some of us, you know, it's a little tougher integrating those versions. I think the mourning process is a way to integrate. I'm not saying like freaking, you know, I mean, whatever you need, I guess. But I'm not saying like put on a veil, and, you know, and cry over old pictures of you. But understand that it's you, but it's not you anymore. Understand that, like so many other things in life, there is a progression, um, an adaptation. I try not to use the word evolution because there's a lot of weird, like, I don't like I don't like the energy connected with evolution in our modern society because I don't particularly subscribe to it. Um, there needs to be grieving. There needs to be an acknowledgement, really, and then grief, and then you go on. You don't want to get stuck on that and become obsessed with that person that you used to be. You'll never be that person again. Do you want to be that person again? And for most of us, you couldn't be that person again even if you tried. It'll never work. It'll never happen. The pieces have changed. You know, it's like puzzle pieces, and the little edges and the little nodules have moved around. They've shifted. It'll never go back into that. It'll never be the same. But that's not a bad thing. But I just don't think that we tend to not acknowledge those versions of ourselves. I know this is like a little bit of a departure from the stuff I normally talk about. It is, but not really, I guess. There are definitely different versions of me that I've throughout the years, and it's deeper than just, well, I changed my hair. I no, your energy changes, you change, everything about you changes. Sometimes for good, sometimes for bad, but you need to acknowledge it all and get to going. Anyway, hope you guys are doing well. I'm just sit out here in nature. It's really awesome when you can be in a place that's so far out that you have to, like, I've been out here since last night. I haven't heard a siren, uh, anything like that since I came out here. That's truly something. Versus you being in, like, around all the insanity and you're constantly hearing it, and you know, you either flip out or tune out. And yeah, it's just good not having to deal with that. you become kind of in tune with like the rhythm of like the forest in nature. The sounds. It's like sometimes it's like nature breathing. It's very refreshing. It's like a spiritual enema without being crude. Alright, I will talk to you guys soon.